Part 1. The emergency alarm blared through the Galactic Council meeting hall. Every alien representative looked up from their discussions as a distress signal played across the large screens mounted on the walls. The voice that came through was human, and it carried the weight of fear mixed with determination. "This is Captain Jake Morrison calling from the cargo ship Frontier Dawn. We are getting attacked by unknown ships near the Kepler border. We have 17 civilian ships with us. There are families on board. Women and children. Our shields are breaking down. We need help right now." The message ended with static noise. Then nothing but silence filled the council hall. Ambassador Zixthar from the Valorian Collective felt his body go tense. He had heard stories about humans since they joined the galactic community 3 years ago. Everyone called them Deathworlders because they came from a planet that should have killed them. Earth had too much gravity, too much oxygen, dangerous weather, and predators everywhere. Yet humans had survived and thrived. Council Speaker Threndal raised one of his 4 arms to get everyone's attention. He was tall and looked like a giant insect from the hive worlds. His voice was cold when he spoke. The humans again. "These Deathworlders seem to find trouble wherever they go in space." Zixthar did not like that comment. He spoke up quickly. "Should we send ships to help them?" Another counselor named Mira then answered. Her body was made of crystal that reflected light in rainbow colors. "The Kepler border is 16 light hours away from our closest military station. By the time we get there, it will be too late. The Kravix raiders never leave survivors. Then we should at least send someone to recover bodies," Zixthar insisted. His voice showed his frustration. "If there are any bodies left to recover," Threndal replied without emotion. What none of the council members knew was that the distress call had reached more than just their meeting. The message had traveled across all of human space. It reached the inner colonies near Earth. It reached the frontier outposts at the edge of explored space, and everywhere that message played, it triggered something deep inside the human species. Admiral Frank Carter stood on the bridge of the massive warship called Valiant. He was the commander of Earth's Defense Force carrier fleet. His face showed his age with lines and scars from years of service. Around him, his crew worked at their stations with quick efficiency. But he could feel the anger building in the air. Everyone had heard Morrison's voice. Everyone had heard the fear. "Admiral, we are getting more distress signals," reported Lieutenant Commander Lisa Grant from her position at Communications. "The Kravix have launched attacks all across the border region. We count 47 other human ships sending emergency calls." Carter's jaw tightened. His voice came out calm but deadly serious. "How many of our warships can we get to that location?" "The 3rd, 5th, and 7th fleets are close enough to respond." "That gives us 68 warships, sir." "Not enough," Carter said quietly. Then louder, "Get me connected to Fleet Command Headquarters. And someone send a message to those Kravix pirates. Tell them they just made the biggest mistake of their very short lives." On board the Frontier Dawn, Jake Morrison was helping his crew seal the emergency doors. The entire ship shook as another blast hit their weakening shields. Through the window, he could see 3 Kravix raider ships. Their dark hulls had weapons pointing at every human vessel in the convoy. "Captain, shields are down to 15%. His first officer, Danny Brooks, called out from the pilot's seat. "One more direct hit and we lose hull integrity. They will break through." Morrison looked at the passengers crowded in the cargo hold. There were families who had paid for safe transport to the colony worlds. He saw a little girl holding a toy animal while her mother held her close. Their faces showed pure terror. "Not today," Morrison whispered to himself. He had served in the Earth Defense Force before becoming a cargo pilot. He knew what was coming. He just had to keep everyone alive long enough for help to arrive. He opened the communication channel to all 17 ships in the convoy. "This is the Frontier Dawn to all vessels. Shut down your engines and put all power into your shields. Form a defensive circle with the smallest ships in the middle. We hold our position until help comes." "Captain, with respect, help is 16 hours away," Brooks said quietly so the passengers would not hear. Morrison smiled, but there was no humor in it. "Help is not coming from the Council, Danny. Help is coming from home. From Earth. From our people." Far away, the Kravix Supreme Commander Vokrath sat on his command throne aboard his flagship. He watched the human convoy on his tactical display with satisfaction. The raid had gone exactly as planned. 17 cargo ships full of supplies and completely defenseless. This would teach the upstart human species not to expand into territory that the Kravix claimed as their own. "Continue firing. he ordered his weapons officer. Target their engines. I want prisoners. We will parade them before the Galactic Council. Let everyone see what happens when Deathworlders forget their place in the galaxy. But his tactical officer looked worried. Commander, our long-range sensors are picking up strange readings. Multiple gravity signatures are appearing at the edge of this star system. The Council peacekeepers? Vokrath asked. He did not sound concerned. They will not arrive for many hours. No, sir. These signatures are different. They are much larger, and more keep appearing. Vokrath felt the first touch of unease. Show me. The tactical display updated. Dozens of new contacts were appearing out of nowhere. They were accelerating toward the Kravik's position at speeds that should not be possible for ships of that size. Identify those vessels, Vokrath demanded. Sir, they are human warships, lots of them, and they are moving fast, very fast. Admiral Carter watched his fleet assemble around the Valiant. The third fleet arrived first from faster-than-light travel. Their destroyers and cruisers formed up in perfect military formation. Then came the fifth fleet with their heavy carriers and battleships. The massive ships seemed to make space itself darker with their presence. Finally, the seventh fleet materialized. Their assault ships bristled with weapons designed for one purpose only, to destroy anything that stood in their way. Give me fleet status, Carter commanded. All ships are here and ready for combat, Admiral, Grant reported from communications. Captain Lucy Hayes on the destroyer Thunderbolt is requesting permission to lead the first attack wave. Permission granted. And Lisa? Yes, sir? Open a communication channel to the Kravik's fleet. Let's talk to them. On every Kravik ship in the system, their communication system suddenly activated. The signal override cut through every other transmission. A human face appeared on every screen. It was Admiral Carter in his military uniform. His eyes held the cold look of someone who had seen war many times before. This is Admiral Frank Carter of the Earth Defense Force, to all hostile vessels attacking human civilian targets. You have 30 seconds to stop firing and leave this system immediately. If you do not, we will consider your actions an act of war against humanity. Vokrath's mandibles clicked together in what passed for amusement among his species. An empty threat. They cannot possibly reach us in time to save those ships. His words died in his throat as the tactical display updated again. 68 new contacts had appeared on the screen, and they were already much closer than should have been possible. How? Vokrath whispered in shock. How did they cross that distance so fast? His tactical officer's voice shook with fear. Sir, they are not using standard faster-than-light drives like ours. These are quantum jump drives. They just traveled 16 light hours in less than 10 minutes. That technology does not exist. No one has that capability. Apparently, the humans did not tell the Galactic Council everything about their technology. Carter watched his countdown timer reach 0. The Kraviks had not stopped their attack. He had expected that. Most alien species in the galaxy had forgotten what real war looked like. They had been safe under the Council's protection for so long that the concept of total warfare had become foreign to them. Humans remembered. Humans had never forgotten, and now they would show the galaxy exactly what that meant. All ships, Carter said quietly into the fleet-wide channel, execute attack pattern Delta. Show them why Earth is called a death world. Part 2, the human fleet split into 3 groups. Each one moved with perfect coordination that showed countless hours of training and practice. The third fleet went high, using the asteroid belt in the system as cover and concealment. The fifth fleet went low, their heavy warships creating a wall of steel and firepower. The seventh fleet charged straight ahead down the middle. Their assault ships accelerated forward with what looked like reckless abandon. On the Frontier Dawn, Jake Morrison watched his scanner display with tears forming in his eyes. They came, he whispered to himself. I knew they would come for us. The first weapons exchange lit up the darkness of space like a miniature sun being born. Kravik's plasma bolts met human kinetic rounds and energy beams in a spectacular display of fire and light. But where the Kraviks expected the larger human ships to slow down and adopt defensive positions, the humans did the opposite. They accelerated even faster. They are ramming us, someone shouted in panic on the Kravik's command ship. But the humans were not ramming at all. They were getting to point-blank range. Human warships dove straight through the Kravik's formation. Their point defense systems created a web of destruction that turned enemy fighter craft into expanding clouds of metal fragments and gas. The human military doctrine was simple and brutal. Get close, stay close, and make every single shot count. Captain Lucy Hayes stood on the bridge of the destroyer Thunderbolt as her ship weaved through enemy weapons fire. Explosions bloomed all around them, but none found their target. Her ship moved like a dancer through the chaos of battle. "Bring us alongside their flagship," she ordered her helmsman. "Target all their weapon systems. And someone play the music." Her weapons officer smiled and activated the ship-wide communication system. The opening notes of an ancient human war song began to play. The sound transmitted on every frequency so even the Kravix could hear it. In the chaos of the battle, the Kravix were learning a terrible truth. Humans did not just fight to win battles. They fought with a fury that came from protecting their own people. Every civilian ship in that convoy held people that humans considered family. And humanity had a very specific response when someone threatened their family. They called it total war. They called it unleashing hell itself. The Galactic Council's monitoring station in the Kepler sector had been designed to watch and record space activity. It was not built to witness what was unfolding before them now. Station Commander Peltrix watched the display. Screens with mounting horror as human tactics defied every principle of civilized warfare that the Council had established over thousands of years. "Get me a direct communication line to the Council chambers." Immediately, he ordered his communications officer. His voice was shaking. "The Council members need to see this with their own eyes." The video feed went live across countless light years of space. Suddenly, every member of the Galactic Council was watching the same scene that had left Peltrix in shock. The human fleet had transformed from an organized military formation into something far more terrifying. They looked like a coordinated swarm of predators hunting prey. Ambassador Zixthar leaned forward in his seat at the Council chamber. His eyes were fixed on the display. "What are they doing? This is not standard military doctrine." The answer became clear as human ships executed maneuvers that should have torn apart any normal vessel. They spun on their axes. They rolled through three-dimensional space. They dove and climbed with an agility that seemed impossible for ships of their massive size. It was as if they had forgotten that space combat was supposed to be a calculated exchange of long-range fire between opposing fleets. "They are dogfighting," whispered Counselor Mira then in amazement, "like atmospheric fighter aircraft. But they are doing it in the vacuum of space." "That should be impossible," Threndal stated flatly. His voice carried disbelief. The gravitational forces alone would kill any normal crew. Their internal organs would be crushed. But humans, as the Council was learning in real time, had come from a world where gravity was much stronger than most planets. Their bodies were built to withstand forces that would turn a Valorian or crystalline being into liquid. What would kill most species was merely uncomfortable for a human. Evolution on a death world had made them incredibly resilient. Captain Lucy Hayes pulled her ship through a barrel roll that brought the Thunderbolt's main guns to bear on a Kravix cruiser. The force of the maneuver pressed her body into her command chair with crushing weight, but her crew barely grunted with the strain. Years of training in high-gravity environments had prepared them for exactly this. "Fire all forward batteries," she commanded through gritted teeth. The Thunderbolt's railguns fired in sequence. Magnetic accelerators launched tungsten rounds at a significant fraction of light speed. The Kravix cruiser's shields were designed to deflect energy weapons like lasers and plasma bolts. They proved nearly useless against solid projectiles moving with such tremendous kinetic energy. The rounds punched through the shield envelope like it was tissue paper. They tore into the hull plating. Each impact released enough energy to vaporize metal and create secondary explosions inside the enemy ship. "Target destroyed," her tactical officer reported with satisfaction in his voice. "Moving to acquire next target." "Negative," Hayes countermanded the order. "Someone else can have the glory of more kills. Our orders are to reach the civilian convoy. Helmsman, best possible speed to those cargo ships. Nothing else matters right now." Across the three-dimensional battlefield, the human fleet was demonstrating why their species had fought its way to the top of Earth's food chain. They did not rely on shields alone for protection like most galactic species. Instead, they layered their defenses in depth. Shields formed the first barrier. Thick armor plating that could take incredible punishment formed the second. Automated point defense systems created a deadly screen of fire around each ship. Electronic warfare suites jammed enemy targeting computers and sensors. It was a defensive philosophy born from centuries of warfare against other humans. Commander Vokrath had abandoned his command throne. He now stood before the tactical display aboard his flagship. He watched with growing dread as his fleet disintegrated around him. The Kravix raiders had expected soft targets and perhaps a token response from Council peacekeepers. Instead, they had attacked a hornet's nest. And the hornets had come prepared for total war. "All ships, retreat to the jump point coordinates," he ordered desperately. "We cannot win this engagement. We must escape while we still can." "Sir, the humans have cut off our escape vector," his tactical officer reported. The fear in his voice was clear. "They are herding us like animals, trapping us." Vokrath pulled up the full tactical display and felt his blood run cold in his veins. The human fleet had not just attacked randomly or in anger. They had executed a carefully planned envelopment maneuver. Every escape route was blocked. The Kravix fleet was trapped in a pocket of space with no way out, except through the human battle lines. And that meant certain death. Admiral Carter watched his tactical display with grim satisfaction. A light blinked on his communication console. "Signal coming in from Captain Hayes, sir. She has reached the civilian convoy. All 17 ships are now under our protection." "What are our casualties?" Carter asked the question that weighed on every commander's mind. "Among the civilians, very minimal. Captain Morrison managed to keep them alive long enough for us to arrive. Among our military forces, we have lost 2 destroyers and taken varying degrees of damage across multiple ships. Crew casualties are still being counted and reported." Carter nodded slowly. Every life lost weighed heavily on his conscience. But he had done what was necessary. He had protected human civilians from an unprovoked attack. That was the oath he had sworn when he put on the uniform. Open a communication channel to the Kravix flagship. Direct link. I want to speak to their commander face to face. When Vokrath's alien face appeared on the screen, Carter could see the fear in the creature's eyes. Good. Fear meant understanding. Fear meant the lesson was being learned. "Commander Vokrath," Carter began. His voice carried the weight of absolute authority. "You attacked human civilian vessels without provocation or warning. You targeted ships carrying families, children who had never done anything to harm you. In human society and human law, there is a word for what you have done. We call it a war crime. The Galactic Council will hear of this human aggression." Vokrath tried to bluster, but his voice lacked any real conviction. He knew he had lost. "The Council is watching right now," Carter replied coldly. "Every moment of this battle has been broadcast directly to their chambers. They saw who fired the first shots. They saw who refused our offer to withdraw peacefully, and now they are going to see what happens next when you threaten human civilians and break the laws of civilized warfare." Vokrath's confidence seemed to return slightly. "You would not dare destroy a surrendering military force. The Council laws of war strictly prohibit such actions." "We are not going to destroy you," Carter interrupted him. His tone made it clear this was not mercy born of weakness. "We are going to escort your entire fleet to the nearest Council station. You will be turned over to stand trial for your war crimes. Your crews will be treated according to the established protocols of..." Part 3. Carter paused for a moment to let his words sink into the Kravix commander's mind. When he continued speaking, his voice was even colder than before. Humanity spent 10,000 years learning how to wage war on a planet that was actively trying to kill us every single day. We have fought each other in conflicts that spanned entire continents and lasted for generations. We have developed weapons that could end all life on our homeworld. And we have learned, through bitter experience paid in blood, the true cost of holding back when those we love are threatened by violence. The Council will never allow you to operate outside their authority. Vokrath tried one last time to find some leverage in the situation. "The Council," Carter said with absolute finality, "will understand that we are not asking for their permission. We are informing them of reality. This is not a negotiation. Attack humans anywhere in this galaxy, and you face all of humanity as your enemy. And we do not lose wars, Commander. We only win them or we die trying. There is no middle ground in our philosophy. No compromise when it comes to protecting our people." The transmission ended. Carter turned to his tactical officer. "Lieutenant, signal all fleet elements. Begin recovery operations for our damaged ships. Prepare boarding parties to take custody of the Kravix vessels. I want every prisoner treated with respect and dignity. We are not barbarians, no matter what they might think of Deathworlders." 3 weeks after what the galaxy would come to call the Kepler border incident, the Galactic Council convened a special emergency session. The massive chamber was packed with representatives from every member species. Everyone wanted to understand the implications of what had happened. Some were afraid. Others were calculating how this changed the balance of power. A few were secretly pleased to see the arrogant Kraviks put in their place. Ambassador Zixthar had been given the task of presenting the Council's official findings on human military capabilities. He stood before the entire assembly with a datapad containing information that had taken teams of analysts weeks to compile and verify. Esteemed members of the Council, he began formally, our investigation into the human military response at Kepler has revealed several critical facts that we must address as a united body. First and most importantly, the humans have been developing military technology at a pace far exceeding our initial projections and assessments. Their quantum jump drives represent a revolutionary breakthrough. Their kinetic weaponry bypasses most conventional shield technology. Their defensive systems use multiple redundant layers. All of this represents a significant advancement over standard Council military technology. Worried murmurs rippled through the chamber like waves. Zixthar held up a hand for silence and continued. However, more important than their technology is their military doctrine and philosophy. Human warfare is fundamentally different from our own understanding of conflict, where we seek to defend territory and maintain stable borders. Humans practice what they call power projection. They maintain the capability to deploy overwhelming military force anywhere their people might be threatened, at a moment's notice, regardless of distance. He brought up a holographic display showing the human fleet's incredible response time. They crossed 16 light hours of space in less than 10 minutes. For comparison, a Council peacekeeping force using our standard drives would have required 16 hours to cover that same distance. This capability means that an attack on any human vessel, anywhere in known space, can be met with a full military response, before the attackers can possibly retreat to safety. This is clearly a violation of Council regulations regarding military expansion and arms limitations, protested Representative Cormac of the Kravik's Dominion. Though his voice was loud, it lacked the bluster he had shown before his species' humiliating defeat. Actually, Zixthar replied with careful diplomacy, it is not a violation at all. The humans have simply chosen to prioritize certain technological developments over others. While we have developed better agricultural systems, more advanced medical treatments, and superior social welfare programs, the humans have never stopped preparing for the possibility of war. Not because they actively desire conflict, but because their entire history has taught them a hard lesson. That peace must be actively defended by those strong enough to fight. Councillor Mira then rose from her seat. Her crystalline form shimmered with reflected light as she spoke. I have spent the past 3 weeks studying human history in depth, something I deeply regret not doing when they first petitioned to join our council. What I discovered was both horrifying and enlightening in equal measure. The humans have fought literally thousands of wars among themselves over their recorded history. They have developed weapons capable of rendering entire planets uninhabitable for generations, and yet they have also developed strict codes of conduct for warfare, treaties to protect civilians and prisoners, the concept they call war crimes. She paused to let the weight of her words settle over the assembly. They are a species that knows intimately how to wage total war, but consciously chooses not to unleash that capability. They could have easily destroyed the entire Kravik's fleet at Kepler with minimal effort. Instead, they captured it intact and turned the prisoners over to our justice system for proper trial. This is not the action of a barbaric or savage species. This is the deliberate choice of a highly disciplined military force that has learned to control its own capacity for violence. Council Speaker Threndal stood slowly. His aged voice still carried clearly through the vast chamber. The Council faces a critical decision point. We can either view humanity as a threat that must be contained and restricted, or we can accept them as a valuable ally whose unique strengths complement our own capabilities. I propose we choose the latter course of action. The chamber immediately erupted into heated debate. But this time, the tone was noticeably different from previous discussions about the human question. There was less instinctive fear and more practical calculation. Less moral outrage and more cold pragmatism about the new reality. Meanwhile, far away on Earth in the headquarters complex of the Earth Defense Force, Admiral Carter sat in a secure briefing room with the Joint Chiefs of Staff. The room was deliberately austere and simple. It was decorated only with flags representing Earth's unified government and the military seal. Admiral Carter, said General Patricia Cole, who commanded the Strategic Planning Division. Your actions at Kepler have created significant political ramifications that are still unfolding. The Galactic Council is deeply split on how to respond to humanity's display of military power. Some species are demanding stricter regulations and oversight of our armed forces. Others are quietly approaching us about strengthening their alliance with humanity. Carter nodded his understanding. I expected this kind of reaction. The real question facing us now is how do we handle this situation moving forward? What is our long-term strategy? We continue operating exactly as we have been, said Admiral Kevin Price, who headed naval operations. We maintain our defensive military posture. We honor our commitments to protect human civilians wherever they may be, and we make it absolutely clear to everyone that we will not be intimidated or pushed around. But we also need to be strategically smart about this situation. We cannot afford to alienate the entire council and find ourselves isolated. I agree completely, Carter confirmed. But we also cannot afford to back down from the fundamental principles we established at Kepler. If we show even a hint of weakness now, every pirate and raider in the galaxy will start thinking that humans are easy targets again. We will be right back where we started. General Cole brought up a holographic tactical display showing the current disposition and deployment of human military forces throughout known space. We have been running detailed computer projections and wargame scenarios. If it came to a full-scale military conflict with the combined council species acting together, we would eventually lose. They have vastly superior numbers, access to more resources, and much greater strategic depth, but we would make victory so costly in lives and materials that no rational leader would actually want to fight us. Mutually assured destruction, Price said quietly, recognizing the ancient doctrine, the same strategic concept that prevented Earth from destroying itself during the nuclear age of the 20th century. Exactly right, Cole confirmed. But there is another factor we need to consider carefully. After news of Kepler spread, we have been contacted by 17 different alien species asking about potential military alliances or defense pacts. Apparently, many frontier worlds and smaller civilizations do not feel adequately protected by Council peacekeeping forces. They want what those humans in the convoy had at Kepler, someone who will actually come when called, someone who will fight when necessary, and someone who will win when it truly matters. Carter leaned back in his chair and considered the full implications. So essentially, we are becoming the galaxy's military deterrent force, the species everyone calls when they need real protection. More accurately, our reputation alone might be enough to prevent future incidents, Cole corrected. Pirates and raiders will think very carefully before targeting anyone known to be under human protection. They saw Part 4 in the cargo bay of the Frontier Dawn, which was currently docked at a human orbital repair station. Captain Jake Morrison gathered his entire crew for an important meeting. The ship had taken significant damage during the Kravix attack and would need at least 2 more weeks in dock. The Earth Defense Force had offered military escort protection on all their future cargo runs. Some of his crew members were uncomfortable with that arrangement. Listen up, everyone, Morrison began in a serious tone. I know some of you are worried about what happened at Kepler, about what it means for us going forward into the future. But I want you to understand something important. When I sent out that distress call, I honestly did not know if anyone would be able to come help us. The Galactic Council was simply too far away. But I sent the message anyway because I had complete faith in one thing. Humans take care of their own people. Always. He looked each crew member directly in the eyes as he spoke. We come from Earth, a tough world that tried to kill us in 1,000 different ways every single day. That world taught us to be strong, to be resilient, to never give up no matter how bad things got. And when we finally went out into the galaxy and met other species, we brought those hard-learned lessons with us. We did not ask to be warriors. We did not seek out conflict with anyone. But when conflict found us, when violence came to our door, we were ready to face it. His first officer, Danny Brooks, spoke up with a question that was on everyone's mind. Captain, do you honestly think there will be more incidents like the Kepler attack? Probably, Morrison admitted with complete honesty. We are still the new species in the galactic community. Some alien civilizations are going to test us to see what we are really made of. But after Kepler, after the entire galaxy witnessed what happens when you directly threaten human civilians, I think those tests are going to become much fewer and farther between. We sent a very clear message that will echo across every star system. Humanity protects its own, no matter the cost. Back aboard the Valiant, Admiral Carter received one final important transmission that day. It came from Captain Lucy Hayes of the destroyer Thunderbolt. She had been officially offered a promotion to Commodore in command of an entire battle group after her exceptional performance during the Battle of Kepler. Her message was both personal and professional. Admiral Carter, I have been thinking a great deal about what we accomplished out there, about the message we sent to the galaxy, and I've come to realize that we did not just save one convoy of 17 ships. We established a precedent that will last for generations. We told the entire galaxy exactly who we are and what we stand for as a species. We are not conquerors seeking to dominate others. We are not tyrants who rule through fear. We are defenders. We are the people who show up when the distress call goes out. We are the fleet that arrives when all hope seems lost, and I am incredibly proud to be part of that legacy. Carter smiled as he read her words. Hayes was absolutely right in her assessment. The Battle of Kepler had not simply been about saving 17 cargo ships and their crews. It had been about defining humanity's fundamental role in the larger galactic community. They were not going to be passive members of the Council, content to let others determine their fate and future. But neither were they going to become aggressors seeking to dominate through superior military force. They would be something the galaxy had not seen in a very long time. A species strong enough to fight when necessary, wise enough to show restraint when possible, and dedicated enough to protect those who could not protect themselves. Weeks passed and the incident at Kepler became part of galactic history. But the effects continued to ripple outward like waves in a pond. 17 more species formally requested defense pacts with humanity. Pirate activity along human trade routes dropped by 70% almost overnight. Even the most aggressive raider groups suddenly found reasons to avoid any ship that flew human colors or carried human passengers. In the Galactic Council chambers, a historic vote was taking place. The question before the Assembly was whether to grant humanity a permanent seat on the Security Council. It was a position of tremendous power and responsibility. The debate had raged for days. Ambassador Zixthar stood to make the final argument in favor of the proposal. Members of the Council, we have seen what humanity can do when provoked. We have witnessed their military capabilities. But more importantly, we have seen their restraint. They could have started a war at Kepler. Instead, they ended one. They could have demanded territory and tribute from the Kraviks. Instead, they demanded only justice through our existing legal system. He gestured to the empty space where the Kraviks representative had once sat. The Kraviks had been suspended from council membership, pending the outcome of war crimes trials. Some species learn wisdom through study and contemplation. Others learn it through painful experience. The Kraviks learned that attacking human civilians has consequences. Let us be wise enough to learn from their mistake without repeating it. The vote was called. When the results appeared on the main display, humanity had been granted their seat on the Security Council by an overwhelming margin. It was a new era for the galaxy. On Earth, in the Capitol building of the United Earth Government, President Helen Martinez addressed her people via live broadcast to every human colony and settlement across known space. Today, the Galactic Council has recognized what we have always known about ourselves, that humanity has the strength to protect not just our own people, but those who call out to us for help. This is not a license for aggression. It is a responsibility that we must bear with wisdom and humility. She paused and her expression became more serious. Some have asked me if we are now the police force of the galaxy. My answer is no. We are not police. We are not enforcers of others' will, but we are defenders of the innocent. We are the response to those who prey on the weak. And we will always answer the call when it comes. In a small apartment on Mars Colony, the little girl who had been aboard the Frontier Dawn watched the president's speech with her mother. She was holding the same stuffed animal she had clutched during the attack. "Mommy, are the bad aliens going to come back?" she asked with the innocent fear of a child who had seen violence. Her mother hugged her close. "No, sweetheart, because now everyone knows. When humans send out a distress call, it does not mean we are giving up. It means we are calling for backup. And backup always comes." Captain Jake Morrison watched the same broadcast from his ship's mess hall. The Frontier Dawn was almost fully repaired now. Soon they would return to their regular cargo routes. But things would be different this time. They would have a military escort. More importantly, they would have the knowledge that they were not alone out there in the vast darkness of space. Admiral Carter stood in his office aboard the Valiant, looking out at the stars through the large viewport. Behind him on the wall hung a simple plaque with words that had guided the Earth Defense Force since its founding. We stand between the darkness and the light. We are the shield that guards the innocent. We are the sword that strikes at evil. We are humanity's promise to itself, that never again will we stand by and watch the innocent suffer, that never again will we fail to answer when the call comes. This we swear, until the last star dies and the universe grows cold. Carter thought about Morrison and his crew, about the families they had saved, about the message they had sent. And he thought about all the human ships out there right now, traveling between the stars, carrying colonists and cargo and dreams of a better future. They were counting on the Earth Defense Force to keep them safe, to be ready when danger came, to arrive with overwhelming force when the distress signal went out. And as long as he commanded this fleet, as long as there were humans willing to stand between the innocent and those who would do them harm, that is exactly what they would do. The galaxy had learned a hard lesson at Kepler. It was a lesson written in weapons fire and shield impacts, written in the determination of Captain Morrison to protect his passengers, written in Admiral Carter's cold promise of retribution, written in the swift arrival of 68 warships ready for battle. When humanity sent out their SOS signal, when those 3 letters broadcast across space from a ship in distress, they carried a meaning that every species now understood. It was not a plea for mercy from the weak. It was not a last desperate cry from the defeated. It was a promise of what was coming. A warning to anyone who thought humans were easy prey. A declaration that help was already on the way, moving faster than light itself, armed and ready for war. In the cold calculation of military strategists across the galaxy, in the fearful whispers of pirate captains in dark stations, in the careful diplomatic language of council chambers, those 3 letters had been redefined forever. When the Deathworlders sent their SOS, it did not mean save our ship. When humans broadcast that ancient distress code into the void, every species now knew exactly what it truly meant. It meant that somewhere out there a fleet was already moving. Weapons were being armed. Targeting systems were coming online. And very soon, someone was going to learn the hardest lesson the galaxy could teach, that you do not threaten humanity's children and expect to survive the response. Part 5-6 months had passed since the Battle of Kepler, and the galaxy had settled into a new reality. Human merchant ships now traveled with confidence through sectors that had once been dangerous. The presence of Earth Defense Force patrol vessels had become common throughout the frontier regions, and everywhere humans went, they carried with them the reputation earned that day. Ambassador Zixthar had become something of an unofficial liaison between humanity and the rest of the Galactic Council. He found himself spending more time on Earth and human colony worlds than in the council chambers. Today he stood in Admiral Carter's office aboard the newly constructed space station Sentinel, which orbited at the edge of human territory. The Council wants to discuss joint military exercises, Zixthar explained as he reviewed a datapad. Several member species are interested in learning human tactical doctrine. They were quite impressed by what they witnessed at Kepler. Carter considered this carefully. Joint exercises could be beneficial, but we need to be clear about something from the start. We will share tactics and training methods. We will work together on defense coordination. But we will not share our most advanced weapons technology, not yet. Trust must be earned over time. A wise position, Zixthar agreed. Though I must ask you something in confidence, Admiral. The quantum jump drives your ships used at Kepler. How long have humans possessed that technology? About 15 years, Carter answered honestly. We developed it specifically for rapid response to emergencies. When we joined the Council, we made a choice not to share certain technologies immediately. We wanted to see how the relationship would develop first. And now we have proven ourselves. We have shown that we can be trusted with power. Perhaps in time we will share more, but that decision will be made by people far above my rank. On the frontier world of New Columbia, a small colony of only 10,000 people, the local governor stood before a crowd gathered in the central square. Next to her was Commander Derek Stone of the Earth Defense Force, whose cruiser had been assigned to patrol this sector. 6 months ago, we were afraid, Governor Lisa Grant told the assembled colonists. We were on the edge of known space with minimal protection. Pirates raided our supply convoys. We went to bed each night wondering if we would wake up to alarms and violence. But something changed. Humanity changed. We prove to the galaxy that we protect our own. Commander Stone stepped forward. His uniform was crisp and his bearing was that of a professional soldier. I want to make something very clear to everyone here. My ship and my crew are not here to control you or to tell you how to live. We are here because you are human citizens, and that means something. It means that if danger comes to this world, you will not face it alone. It means that help is always just a distress call away. A young colonist raised his hand. Commander, what if the threat is too big? What if it is more than one ship can handle? Stone smiled. Then we call for backup, and the entire fleet will come if necessary. That is the promise we made at Kepler, and it is a promise we will keep for as long as the Earth Defense Force exists. In a darker part of the galaxy, in a station that served as a meeting place for various criminal organizations, a very different conversation was taking place. The station had no official name and appeared on no charts. Here, the worst elements of galactic society gathered to conduct business away from council oversight. A Kravix crime lord named Thex sat across from a Valorian smuggler. I have a contract, Thex explained. A human mining operation on an asteroid in the Gamma sector. Rich in rare minerals. Minimal security. Easy target. The Valorian made a gesture of refusal. No, absolutely not. Did you learn nothing from what happened to your military fleet at Kepler? That was different, Thex insisted. This is just one small mining operation. No military presence. No civilian ships. Just miners and their families. You said families, the Valorian replied flatly. That means you learned nothing at all. I will not participate in any operation targeting humans. Neither will anyone else with half a brain. Your people attacked human civilians once, and look what it cost you. Your species lost its council seat. Your military was humiliated. And now you want to do the same thing again? Thex tried to argue, but the Valorian stood to leave. Find someone else to help you commit suicide. I plan to live a long and profitable life, which means staying far away from anything involving humans. Word of this conversation spread through the criminal underworld like wildfire. Within days, the price for any contract involving human targets had increased tenfold, and even at those prices, few were willing to accept the jobs. The lesson of Kepler had reached even the darkest corners of civilization. Back on Earth, at the Defense Force Academy where new officers were trained, Instructor Captain Lucy Hayes stood before a class of cadets. She had declined the promotion to Commodore, preferring to stay at the captain rank and teach the next generation. Can anyone tell me what the most important moment of the Battle of Kepler was? She asked her students. A young cadet raised her hand. When Admiral Carter gave the Kravix 30 seconds to withdraw. A good answer, but no, Hayes replied. Anyone else? Another cadet tried. When our fleet arrived using the quantum jump drives. Also important, but still no. Hayes walked to the front of the classroom. The most important moment was when Captain Morrison sent his distress call. Not because it summoned help, but because he had faith that help would come. He trusted in something bigger than himself. He trusted in the promise that humanity makes to every person who ventures out into space, that you are not alone, that we will come for you. She brought up a display showing Morrison's face during the transmission. Look at his expression. You can see the fear, yes, but you can also see determination. He did not give up. He did not surrender. He fought to keep his people alive because he knew in his heart that the cavalry was coming, and it did. Hayes turned to face her students directly. That is what we are. We are the cavalry. We are the ones who answer the call. And every time we put on this uniform, we renew that promise. It does not matter if the person calling for help is a soldier or a civilian. It does not matter if they are on a warship or a cargo hauler. It does not matter if they are rich or poor, officer or enlisted. They are human, and that means we come for them. Every single time. In the Galactic Council chambers, a historic ceremony was taking place. Humanity was officially taking its seat on the Security Council. The human representative chosen for this honor was not a politician or a diplomat. It was Admiral Frank Carter, still wearing his military uniform. When asked why a military officer had been selected instead of a civilian, the President of Earth had given a simple answer. Because Admiral Carter represents what humanity truly is. We are not conquerors or empire builders. We are defenders. And we want the galaxy to remember that every time they look at our representative. Carter gave a short speech to the assembled council members. I stand before you today not as a warrior seeking glory, but as a guardian seeking peace. Humanity has proven that we have the strength to fight when necessary, Now we must prove that we have the wisdom to know when not to fight, that we can be trusted with power because we understand the responsibility that comes with it. He paused and looked around the chamber. To those species who fear us, I say this. We do not want your territory. We do not want to control you. We only want to live in peace and protect our people. But to those who would threaten the innocent, whether human or otherwise, I say this. We are watching. We are ready. And we will not hesitate to act when action is required. The applause that followed was genuine, not born of fear but of respect. On a distant colony world in a small home, a family sat down to dinner. The father worked as an engineer on a fusion reactor. The mother was a teacher. Their 2 children attended the local school. They were ordinary people living ordinary lives, and they felt safe because they knew that somewhere out there, ships patrolled the darkness. Soldiers stood watch, and if danger ever came to their door, help would arrive. That night, as stars filled the sky above their home, the youngest child asked a question. Dad, why did those aliens attack the frontier dawn? Her father thought carefully about how to answer. Because they did not understand humans yet. They thought we were weak. They thought they could scare us, but we are not weak, the child stated with absolute confidence. No, we are not. But more importantly, we are not alone. Every human out here among the stars is connected to every other human. We look out for each other. We protect each other. And that makes us stronger than any weapon or any army. Admiral Carter stood once more in his office aboard the Valiant, looking out at the stars. The same plaque hung on his wall with its solemn promise. But now there was something else. A framed photograph of the Frontier Dawn and its crew, taken after they had been rescued. In the photo, Captain Morrison stood with his crew and the families they had saved. Everyone was smiling. Carter had kept that photo as a reminder of why the Earth Defense Force existed, a reminder of what they were fighting for. Not territory or resources or political power, but people, families, children who deserved to grow up in safety, ordinary citizens trying to build better lives on distant worlds.